In this video, which is second video of the series about capacity management, we're gonna look into what the Jira and the BigPicture offers in that area for Agile teams. This video is part of our effort to provide the best possible training around Jira, Confluence and whole Atlassian ecosystem. If you would like to support us, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave any comment below if you have questions, and remember that you can always reach out to us for one of our paid services like training, consultations or implementation. Okay, so let's go on with that. Unlike last time, we will start with looking at some Jira features, because unlike with the Waterfall capacity management, where pure Jira offers basically nothing, for Agile it does have some features that can be pretty useful. I would say that for smaller teams they can be sufficient. For larger, not so much, but we will discuss why is that now. So normally what Agile teams are using for capacity and resource planning is the standard Scrum Jira board. So this is one of these boards. Basically it has three major sections or two major sections. So at the top or higher we have our sprints, and below that we have the backlog of the work that is waiting to be assigned to any sprints. These issues can be estimated with story points. We see these story points over here. So basically when issue is in the backlog, team is estimating it with story points and then putting it into the sprint. So you may have several sprints over here and basically drag and drop issues that you want to deliver in specific sprint and put it over here. Yeah, like that. So we already know that, yep, we have a list of tasks to be done in our backlog. We can put them in the sprints. Sprints are time boxed, so we know how long they are, and thanks to that we know, or we should know with time, how many story points we will be able to deliver in each sprint, which is basically called velocity, right? So when we assign tasks to the sprint, you can see over here at the top, we have summary of story points. So currently I have 4 tasks that are estimated for 4 story points that are in status category to do, 0 story points in category in progress, 0 story points in done. In my other sprint, it looks a bit better. So 6 story points are in to do, 5 story points are in progress. If I would change the status of the task, so let's say that these 2 story points, I will just put them to done right away, you'll see that these numbers change, right? So here now we have 2, as in 2 story points were delivered. So this pretty simple feature allows you for 2 things. First of all, to make sure that you are not over allocating your team. So as I mentioned, sprints are usually time boxed. They have always the same length. So with time, we will be able to see how many story points teams is able to deliver in each iteration or each sprint. And thanks to that, we can plan accordingly the next sprint. So when we will be doing the planning and putting tasks into the sprint, we will see over here how many story points are in the sprint. And thanks to that, we'll know when to stop. Of course, each task that we're putting over here then have to be assigned some story point number, needs to have story point estimate. So this was the first use for that. The second use for that is to basically keep track of the progress, right? So thanks to these numbers, not only we have the number of story points, we have the number of story points in each category. So we know how many story points are done, are in progress, are waiting to be picked up. So this gives us indication of the progress, because if in the second half of the sprint we would have that kind of situation, it might be a bit worrying because we basically did not start anything yet and we're in the middle of a sprint, for example. This situation, it looks way more balanced. So yeah, it gives us some indication about how we're going with the delivery of the work for a given sprint. Okay, so let's talk a bit about what are the limitations of this feature. And I think that major limitation and the major thing that will be a problem is when the company is growing and you start having multiple teams, or you just have multiple teams that are working on the tasks that have dependencies. So there are basically several options we can approach that. So first of all, you could have one board for all the teams and just have separate sprints for them, right? And then you could have Scrum or Team 1 Sprint 1, Team 2 Sprint 1, and so on and so on. Do the planning for each team as a separate sprint. It could work. So you will have all the information about what teams are doing in the current sprint on the single screen. There are two problems with that. First of all, with more teams, you will just have a lot of ongoing sprints at the moment. Over here, from experience, I know that this is not too easy to work on and not too easy to read. Second of all, if there are dependencies between the works done by the teams, you do not see them here. So basically, before you plan anything, you need to enter the task, see if there is dependency and whether you can already plan it or not, and try to resolve that. It takes a lot of time. First issue that I had with that, so basically having multiple teams and multiple sprints over here, can be easily solved by having multiple different boards. Each board will contain only work delivered by a specific team and only sprints done by that team. So that's easy. You won't have single screen with all the work from all the teams, but that's not a major issue. You can just filter issues out and using standard search feature display what is currently happening. So this can be addressed. But the second part, where we do not see the dependencies between the work, cannot be easily addressed using standard Jira features. And this is, in my view, one of the biggest strengths of features that BigPicture deliver. So we will discuss them right now. Okay, so now we see BigPicture screen. I am in my new Agile project box, which basically contains all the tasks, all the Jira issues that I need to deliver within my project. We are in a board module. Board module is oriented around Agile planning and Agile management. So what we see over here, on the right side, we see the backlog, so all the issues that need to be delivered that were identified in my project. And on the right side, the major part of the screen are the iterations. Within Jira nomenclature would be a sprints. And we have a swim lanes with the teams. So right away, you can see that we can plan work not for one team, but for multiple of them, for several different iterations. And how we are doing the capacity planning and checking whether work can be delivered or not. Of course, issues will also be estimated. So you see I have over here in my backlog some tasks that have 5 story points or 2 story points. There are estimates on some of them. And the moment I assign the task to specific iteration to specific team, over here we have an updated information. So currently for team A, I have 5 story points assigned out of 6 story points of the team capacity, which is 83%. If I would assign something else, so let's assign this remaining estimate, you'll see that suddenly I overallocated team. We are informed by this red exclamation mark and information that the team is overallocated or allocated for 117%. So on the team level, we are able to monitor whether we are overallocating them or not. This also sums up to the higher levels. So you see that on the iteration, we also have information how many story points are assigned out of total capacity of all the teams. So we are not only able to do the planning on the team level, but also this higher level planning for all the teams, which is something that was not there for standard Jira boards, which I think is also pretty great. Okay, so this is basically how Jira or how BigPicture informs us about the capacities and allow us to check whether the team is properly allocated, maybe over allocated, not under allocated. But now, something that we did not have in Jira board, is that over here we have actual team capacity. This was not there in Jira. Where is this capacity taken from? How is it calculated? So basically it is based on team membership. In BigPicture we can also define teams, assign users to them, and based on that BigPicture will calculate how many story points the team is able to deliver. This is a bit more complex. There is a lot of ways we can impact this number by editing teams or specific team members. If you're interested in how it works in details, you might be interested in one of our courses, so reach out to us. But on very high level, it just takes number of hours numbers of hours available for each user, sums it up and recalculates to story points. But we know that velocity changes with time, right? Team may get more effective. How is that addressed? Well, BigPicture allows us to manually edit the total capacity. So I can enter over here and say that, okay, we know that this thing got more effective. Now it is able to deliver 7 story points. So this is one place where we can do that. And second, where we have a bit more overview of that change, is over here. We have capacity planning, where we can edit whole teams or just individual members. I will highlight the changes. This will show me what was manually changed. So we see that this 7 was changed manually. It is indicated by this strong line. And total was impacted by this manual change, so it is a dashed line. So I can change for multiple iterations also in the future this number. So BigPicture makes it easy to set up initial value. After that, we have flexibility to change them however we want. So this is basically the capacity planning. In Jira, you could also monitor progress. These numbers do not really give us any indication of progress, but we can change that, or we can display here numbers that will. So if I'll go over here to totals, I will do work progress, and I can do the work progress based on different metrics. Let's stick to the story points for now. Again, if you're really interested in other ones, we covering that in courses and also in different videos. So now when I've changed to that, I see not how many story points were assigned compared to the capacity, but how many story points are delivered. So basically tasks with how many story points are in status category done, compared to how many story points were assigned for this iteration. So currently we are 13% in. This is pretty precise number, and I think it's more actionable than what Jira gave us with these how many story points are in to do, in progress, and done status categories. So this is basically it. What's really nice, and I didn't cover it as it's not entirely capacity allocations, are two things, is that this BigPicture feature allows us to work also in hybrid approaches, where part of the teams are delivering things in Agile and part of them are delivering it in Waterfall. And what is more, these iterations that we have over here can be synchronized with sprints on Jira board. This would basically mean that if you assign something here to the iteration, it is assigned to the properly mapped sprint on the Jira board. And if you assign something on Jira board, it will be assigned over here. So you may use this screen as an overview of what is happening in your teams, but still allow the teams to work on their boards. Basically, BigPicture would be transparent to them. So yeah. And what is more, I think that you've already noticed, but let me stress that this screen also addresses two things that I think were the Jira board's major weaknesses, which is, first of all, we see all the work on one screen, and second of all, right away we see the dependencies between the tasks here and potentially between teams, right? So we see that there is dependency between those two tasks. It is actually yellow because we have these tasks planned for the same sprint. If the AP50 tasks will be delivered too late in the sprint, we won't be able to deliver this one. So I will actually replan it for the future iteration. And now this line is green, saying that everything should be fine. We should be able to start AP36 without any problem because this task should be already delivered. So that's it. One more time, I think that if you have single team that you are managing, or maybe several teams that do not really have dependencies between them, Jira boards will be sufficient for you, and they work pretty well. In the case where you're managing multiple teams with dependencies between each other, then usually it's not sufficient, and tools like BigPicture really help in that area. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hear you in the next one.